Casual talk here. Besides usually pointing out the hypocrisy and the drama and the stereotypes behind black culture in America today, you have to understand this other thing. White privilege. And do I believe white privilege exists? No. People seem to think when you're white, automatically you're gonna have a better life. That's not the case for everybody. We have privilege to live in America if we're American born, and to seek help if you need the help. Okay? We have the rights and the privileges to get a job and go to work and do our thing. We have the privilege to have an apartment, to own a house, to drive a car. There's plenty of successful black people, and there's plenty of successful white people. And I'm not just gonna make it a black and white thing. There are Asians, there are black islanders, Asian islanders, white people from certain islands. You don't hear about it, but they exist. There's Hispanics or Latinos, however you want to call it. The stereotype to generalize black people in a negative light comes from social media, social norms, which got into black culture and destroyed black culture to make black culture on what it is today. Being associated with being black does not equal the generalization for every black person to like watermelon and chicken. There's plenty of white people who likes watermelons, chicken, just like there's Asians who likes watermelon and chicken. I heard all the stereotypes. I've heard it all, seen it all, and at the exact same time, there's rich black people who are very wealthy, who uses the race card or their black card to get away with a lot. And we're in 2024. Just recently there was a judge, I don't know what state this was in, where she was making a lot of money, even more money than the government of that state. And she was a judge, a black judge. There was a case where there was an Asian woman who she found out was married to a black man. Her being a black woman, of course people are gonna say, oh, she felt some type of way. Yeah, that's how it looked like. And I'm not surprised, because there's a lot of black women that has some self-hatred for themselves and hatred for other black men who dates outside their race. Like you're their property. And I'm sorry, just to be real, there's some women in different races who does the exact same thing. They find it strange. And it's wrong regardless. And sick. White privilege is bullcrap. I'm not a coon. I'm not standing up for white people. White privilege is bullcrap. There are white people out there who are bums, homeless. Do they have the privilege to be rich automatically because they're white? You ever heard of a class system? Class privilege You ever heard of that? I've came across many YouTubers, and some even make comments like that. It's not about white privilege, it's more about class privilege. Race is only an issue depending on the individual who has that hate within their heart, or they grew up around family or people who has taught them racism, or they had trauma or bad experiences, which makes them think that, oh, all white people are the same, all black people are the same. And based off sociology and psychology reasonings, right? It's not justified, but it's understandable. It's understandable if someone had trauma with white people or black people or Asians, whatever you want to call it, and you faced racism in some way where it traumatized your life. It's understandable that you are traumatized or you have some sort of PTSD. It's understandable. But it's not justified to go on about it by discriminating against those people because of your trauma and experience. I had one coworker, this is a true story, at my current job as an environmental services cleaner. She's Filipino, and one day we were sitting down in one of the break rooms, right? This was after our shift was over. We were getting ready to go home. She said this, and asked this question. Hey Daniel, I don't mean to get you offended, but is it true for a lot of black people? I think she said a lot or all black people, but she was just saying this. Is it true for black people in general to be very angry and aggressive? That's what she asked me. And she didn't ask in an ignorant way. Her tone, her mannerisms, it was just out of curiosity. People could call her ignorant, and I can completely understand. It's an ignorant comment, an ignorant question. But I answered with respect. I didn't say, black people being aggressive, who the F do you think you are? I'm not going to do that, because that would have proved her point, and she would have stopped talking to me. Why am I going to do that? I'm different from other black people. I'm not going to carry a hood mentality or a hood culture like it's a badge of honor. Having a criminal record or multiple criminal records or offenses is nothing to brag or be proud about. As you get older, life is going to hit you. When you got to pay bills, you have to have your own place, and you have to work at a decent job. Having criminal records, and depending on the criminal record, is going to hold you back in life. It's going to hold you back from living in certain areas, living in certain places, the hassle having to move, the hassle of now you're at the plummet of the you're at the plummet of the bottom to get crappy dead-end jobs that are very dangerous. Will hire criminals because they'll take anybody. And going back to my coworker, I answered her like this after she asked the question. She did, like, is it true for black people to be very aggressive? I told her this. No, that's a stereotype. That's what the media wants you to believe, because you see that on TV. It's the same thing with Asians. How there's a stereotype of Asians, all of them being smart or good at math. And I told her this also as well. We're all human beings at the end of the day. I'm not very aggressive. I don't believe in being aggressive and hostile and angry. I told her like that. I don't believe in that. She was kind enough to say, oh, okay, you're right, I understand. And then we had a good conversation. the conversation continued. Maybe she asked that question on purpose to try to test me. But look, I passed the test because you know why? I didn't take offense to it. Because it's not affecting me. It does not apply to me because I don't carry myself that way. People that gets offended to some things, that lets you know that whatever the person said about them or a stereotype is true and it applies to them. And on the other hand, there's white stereotypes. Oh, if you're white, you have to make it somewhere in life. You should have a good job. People automatically thinks that you got money. Because there's a stereotype with other islanders and countries, especially Asians. A lot of Asian women would think like, oh, white men makes a lot of money. No, that's not the case for everybody. That's not the case for everybody. You may have the thought of it because majority of the United States is white. A lot of people in power are white. Joe Biden is white. Donald Trump is white. Who cares? Human beings. They got pros and cons. They have problems just like me and you. Who cares? At the end of the day, people who believes all the social norms of they follow social media to the core, where they let social media brainwash them to think closed-minded and not open-minded. Those people are truly far gone, and unfortunately, those type of people are not willing to change or listen to other people. They want to look at the world how they view the world. And I'm just going to be real. There's some white people who comes from the hood. They act like straight up hood dudes. I met a couple. It's the character. It's where you grew up around. Who you grew up around. And that makes part of you. Especially if you're part of that culture. You ever heard of the term, when you can take Pookie out the hood, when you can't take the hood out of Pookie? Because if a black man, Asian man, Hispanic, white, Indian, if they all grew up in the ghetto or in the hood and they were raised by the hood, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be hood themselves, especially if it's survival of the fittest. Having guns, getting into a gang, getting caught up with the cops, just having a devious criminal mindset. So, white privilege, it doesn't exist. It can in certain individuals' eyes and people who practices that, but it's not even called white privilege at that point. It's called racism and white supremacy. Everyone has a privilege to breathe, eat, sleep, go to work, get themselves together, and do what they gotta do. Some people, some places, some cities, or areas may hold you back because of your background, because of your race. But at the end of the day, white privilege does not exist. It doesn't exist. I've seen cases that I've read online of white people who was rejected from job applications because those jobs and companies wanted more of a diverse environment. I've seen cases like that. I've seen cases where there are white people who said things like, I wish I was black. Or they really like black culture. But me, in my personal opinion, the black culture that I see in America is very negative. I'll only appreciate the positivity out of the culture. And I'm not talking about the ghetto hood culture. I'm talking about the African culture, the roots as a whole. The food, some of the materials, the tribes, things like that. Every society and every group of ethnicities and people from different backgrounds, from different ethnic groups, they all have cultures. The culture I grew up with is brought up from a black Haitian family from the islands, and they taught me to carry myself better, carry myself as a citizen that just wants something out of life. I looked up to my dad, and I still do, because he carries himself a certain way. Same for my mom. She never wanted me to sag my pants. She never wanted me to be like all these Pookies and Ray Rays out here. And Pookies and Ray Ray, that they have no skin complexion or no race. There's Asian hood dudes. There's Hispanic hood dudes. White hood dudes. Korean, Vietnamese, Indian, Asian. I could keep going. Everywhere has a hood. If you think that hoods don't exist within every race or every culture, you are sadly mistaken, and you are sadly lost, and you're thinking from a one world view. And you're the one that's very ignorant, and you just choose not to want to be open-minded. I've had many negative comments in the past. Why do you talk white? I mean, I don't even care at this point, because there's going to always be people that's going to speak of me positively. You could do it. You have your life on your shoulders. You could get ahead. You could make it. You can make something out of yourself. White privilege doesn't exist. White supremacy and racism exists, but it does not apply to every environment and every individual. A white officer, the stereotypes is they're always going to be racist towards black people. That is not true. Since the death of George Floyd, has it crippled? No. Has it changed how police officers are as a whole? To some degree, yes, it did. It did. It educated them. It kept them in check to know that he's a human being as well. Take that racism out. Keep it to yourself. And do your job. If somebody's doing the crime, they're doing the crime. If they're not, they're not. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with someone's skin complexion. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Thieves comes in different colors. Rapists comes in different colors. Pedophiles comes in different colors. Okay? Every criminal from every background has isn't limited to gender, race, height, ethnicity. There's no limitations. There is none. What we see on the media, what we hear on the media, take it with a grain of salt. Everybody's not the same. You are very ignorant and sadly mistaken if you think that way, and I feel bad for people that thinks like that. I really do. This is the reason why there's still a lurking hate and a divide between black people, white people, in general. There's a lot of black people that thinks that, oh, you're white, you think you're better. And there's white people who says, oh, black people thinks they're better, they think they're special. Just because we have Black History Month, Juneteenth, that does not mean nothing. It's there because of the history of how oppressed and how badly black black people were treated. But don't forget, there's other black people who could be racist as well towards Asians, Hispanics, and white people as well. God made race, but he did not create racism. He made human beings with different backgrounds, different shades, different features. We all have a special purpose in life. Each and every one of us does. Not all, but many of us does. We share a purpose. We have a purpose. Our race and our skin complexion and our background shouldn't hold us back but us. Many things is possible. I stay away from negative people all the time. Even if negative remarks or comments comes up about my race or my skin, so what? The thing is that I know who I am. Do you know who you are? Anyways, guys, casual talk here. Feel free to comment down below, share the video if you like, and let me know what you think. Peace.